Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us for this segment, we have Sui Chung, CEO of CF Benchmarks, to discuss the approval of the world's first DeFi ETF. Sui, it's great to see you again. Welcome back to Trade Talks.
Thank you very much for having me, Jill. It's always a pleasure to speak to you, and Happy New Year.
Yes, same to you. And let's start off with 2022. There's been no shortage of volatility, not only in the crypto markets, but markets overall. How would you say 2022 is going so far for the crypto space?
Well, as you say, volatility is always there in the crypto markets, but a bit less volatility in crypto than we've seen in traditional asset classes. Obviously, the fixed income and rates markets, credit markets have been roiled by the inflation that's running through all the major economies and the potential reactions of central banks. We're already looking at potentially 4 rate rises now in the US, in the UK, probably 3, Europe still unknown. So actually crypto has been, in that sense, relative to fixed income markets, pretty subdued.
Sweet, let's talk about this new Decentralized Finance ETF. Give us some background behind it, the types of companies that are in there, what's the methodology behind it?
Sure, Jill. So the way we approached DeFi as an index provider, because of course the Hashtag ETF tracks the CF DeFi Composite Index, is to try and deliver the full value chain of DeFi, the phenomenon that is DeFi, but what actually delivers DeFi to end users. So we had to think very hard, very long about all the various component parts that mean that people can use DeFi services. And that involves not just a DeFi protocol that your viewers may know, such as Yearn Finance or Compound, but also infrastructure underneath that, the blockchain economy from Oracle providers and scaling solutions that will help those DeFi protocols scale and deliver their services and settle the actual transactions on an underlying blockchain. So the index is composed of 3 sub-portfolios that mean that the investor is always exposed to the entire value chain of DeFi. And that's very important because picking winners in this market at such an early stage is effectively impossible.
Right. And who is this appropriate for? Can institutions and retail investors get involved with this ETF? Absolutely.
In Brazil, ETFs are open to both institutional and consumer investors. And so it's suitable for all. And it's really aimed at those investors that are seeing the growth in DeFi. They want exposure to the growth of that phenomenon, the growth of individuals and corporate end users utilizing DeFi protocols to conduct financial services through the blockchain. And this ETF is squarely aimed at them. If they are believers in the phenomenon of DeFi and believe it will grow, then this ETF delivers the returns commensurate with the growth of that phenomenon.
And Sui, what's driving the interest behind institutions and looking to get exposure to DeFi assets?
So that's a great question, because I think there's a number of drivers of this. The very first is that, particularly since the launch of the Ether futures contracts on the CME, traditional investors have been pushed into trying to understand the blockchain economy that is being built. And they have, in that intervening 15-month period, they really built a strong knowledge of understanding protocols that are delivering these services, the growth in the usage, the growth in the value locked in the industry terminology, and they want a piece of that future. They want to be exposed to the assets that will deliver returns that are commensurate with the growth of that phenomenon. And hence, they're looking for solutions like the Hashtag DeFi ETF that tracks the CF DeFi Composite Index to deliver that for them. Because, as I said, picking winners in this space, it's far too early. So they want that beta exposure and they want to be able to make remain exposed to the entire value chain.
And finally, what's next for CF Benchmarks? What are some of the trends that you're going to also be preparing for?
Well, yeah, 2022 will, I'm sure, be a very exciting year, and there's many things on our radar. The CF DeFi Composite Index is the first index we have produced that is powered by the CF Digital Asset Classification Structure, a crypto GICS, if you will, for those of your viewers who are familiar with attribution analysis. So, we've segmented the digital asset universe, this vast array of tokens and coins into a coherent and comprehensive classification structure, so they can understand the return drivers and conduct that attribution analysis. So we aim to launch many more indices driven by our classification structure. And of course, last but not least, NFTs. Everyone is talking about NFTs, everyone is talking about the metaverse. And we have been working pretty hard in trying to deliver for investors a means of valuing NFTs through finding the prevailing price so that they can better navigate the market for NFTs.
All right, Sui, we appreciate the insight as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thank you very much, Jill.